Gather round. I have a story for you, one you won't forget.
I took a summer job at a golf course that doesn't open until 3 a.m. Now I know why. This was supposed to be my last summer of freedom. I was 18, varsity everything, full ride to a good school, parents proud, life was right on track. I wasn't looking for much, just a way to make some extra money before college. So when I got a strange email offering a groundskeeping job at a private golf course just outside of town, I didn't think twice. Night shift, great pay, flexible hours, sounded perfect. I'd driven past the course hundreds of times. It was always pristine, perfect greens, freshly cut fairways, even the flower beds were manicured, but I'd never seen a single person out there. No golfers, no staff, just silence. So when I pulled up for the interview, I didn't know what to expect. The clubhouse was spotless and empty, like a hotel that had never opened. The guy who met me wore a pressed suit and had eyes like glass. No handshake, no small talk. Just business. "You'll be starting at 3 a.m., he said. "Your duties are simple." I nodded, waiting for the part about mowing, raking, cart maintenance, something. Instead, he slid a sheet of paper across the desk. Typed instructions. 1 sentence per line. Walk to hole 1. Close your eyes. Stand still for 10 minutes. Move to hole 2. Repeat. Continue through hole 18. At the final hole, keep your eyes shut until you feel the sun on your face. Return the next night. I stared at the page for a good minute. "You're serious?" I asked. "Very." "No offense," I said, "but this sounds like some eyes wide shut cult. I think I'm gonna pass." He didn't argue. He didn't even flinch. Just opened a folder and slid it toward me. Inside was a document with my name at the top, my photo, my signature at the bottom. "I never signed this," I said. "You opened the email, you clicked yes, that was enough." "What? That's not—" He stood, adjusted his cuffs. "You belong to the course now," he said, "until you're taken, or until you find a replacement." I thought about walking out, but something in me said not to, not yet. That first night I was trained by a kid who couldn't have been older than 25. He looked dead behind the eyes, skin pale, voice monotone. We didn't talk much, just walked. At each hole we stood in silence with our eyes shut, 10 minutes at a time. The quiet was thick, like something was listening, watching. "You'll hear them," he said once softly. "Don't open your eyes, no matter what." I wanted to laugh. I wanted to ask what the hell them meant, but I didn't, because by hole 6, I heard it too, footsteps, crunching grass, low breathing right next to my ear. And I kept my eyes shut. I lasted 6 nights, then I slipped. On hole 17, something touched my shoulder, cold fingers. Too many of them. I panicked, opened my eyes, and saw them. They weren't human. Grey skin, limbs too long, faces like stretched leather. No eyes, just wide, grinning mouths full of tiny, clicking teeth. They froze when I looked, then they charged. I ran, blindly. Made it to the clubhouse just as the first light of dawn hit the horizon. The next night I tried not to go, but I couldn't stop myself. My car drove itself, my body moved without me, like I was on a leash. Every night after that they were closer, the air heavier, the breathing louder. I asked the man in the suit why they didn't just kill me. "They could," he said, "but they enjoy the game. You keep them entertained. You keep them here." "Here?" I asked. "If no one walks the course," he said, "they roam, they feed. Out there. On your neighbors, your family, the daycare down the street." He handed me a rake, not to use, just to hold. "It's not a job," he said, "it's containment." I wanted to quit, I begged, I screamed, he just stared. "You agreed," he said, "you're ours until you're taken or replaced." And that's when it clicked. Someone had done this to me, someone had picked me, so I did the same. I went online, found a job board, posted a listing with the same vague title, "Night Groundskeeper Private Course, Great Pay, No Experience Needed." A kid applied 2 days later, desperate, just like I'd been. I met him at the clubhouse, told him it was weird but easy. "Just follow the instructions, don't worry about it." He laughed. I didn't. That night I walked the course one last time. The shadows hissed, the ground shook beneath the greens. But I made it. The sun hit my face. The cycle broke. I was free. When I got home, there was an envelope waiting on my kitchen counter. No stamp, just my name. Inside was one piece of paper. Final clearance, ground steward release, name, redacted, date of completion, redacted reference, Kyle Matthews, relationship high school bully. I froze. Kyle, the quiet kid I used to mess with freshman year, the one who disappeared. I thought he'd run away. I was wrong. He'd been caught, and he waited years. Just long enough to serve me up in return. Now I wonder how long it'll take before the kid I tricked does the same to someone else, and how long they'll wait. Because the course doesn't just take anyone. It takes the ones who deserve to be haunted. Do not reply to the job offer. Don't open the email. And whatever you do, don't open your eyes. I found a hidden room behind my closet. I shouldn't have touched anything inside. It started with a smell, not a rotten one, not mildew, not dead rats. It was sweet. Sickly sweet, like spoiled honey or overripe fruit, thick in the air and clinging to my throat when I breathed in. At first I thought it was just something in the walls. This apartment is old, cheap, and probably full of mold. But when I opened my closet to grab a hoodie, the scent nearly knocked me over. It wasn't just stronger in there, it was coming from there. Like the closet itself was exhaling it. The back wall looked wrong, like it had been redone badly. I pressed my palm against it and it flexed, soft, hollow and loose. Cheap plywood or something, so I did what you should never do in these situations. I pulled it off. Behind the fake wall wasn't another wall, it was a tunnel. Narrow, low and lined with wooden slats like an old attic. The air was heavy and wet, and that smell was 10 times worse inside. But I couldn't help myself. I crawled. Only a few feet in, the tunnel opened up into a room, maybe 10 by 10 feet. The floor was dirt, the walls were rough brick, and the ceiling was covered in what looked like sticks. No, not sticks, bones, small ones. Too many to count. There were things inside, nestled in the corners surrounded by little piles of shredded cloth and moss. I thought they were dolls at first. Handmade, primitive, wrapped in string and stuffed with straw. But they had faces, not drawn on or sewn, real, preserved, flattened, stretched like leather. Each one had a human face, dry and frozen in some expression, terror, sadness, rage. Each one was staring right at me. I backed out, fast. When I reached the closet again, I slammed the wall back in place and pushed my dresser in front of it. I tried to forget it. I wanted to forget it. That night I dreamed of scraping, tiny claws against wood, whispered breathing, the sound of straw shifting. When I woke up, the closet door was open. I nailed it shut the next day, boarded it up, piled everything I owned in front of it, but it didn't stop the dreams. Every night I saw them, the little figures crawling, shuffling, standing over me, watching with those stretched faces that still twitched when they thought I wasn't looking. One night, I couldn't move. Sleep paralysis, maybe. I was frozen in bed, eyes wide open, while one of them dragged itself up from under my mattress and pressed a hand to my chest. Its fingers were sharp and wrong, insect-like, and its face. I recognized it. It was mine. I'm not staying here anymore. I've packed a bag, booked a hotel. I'm leaving tonight. I don't care about the lease or the deposit or anything, but before I left, I had to check one last thing. I moved the dresser, tore the boards off. The wall was intact, no hollow sound, no seam, just solid plaster. But the smell is still there, and I just heard something knock from the inside. If you ever smell something sweet and wrong in your closet, don't open the wall, don't crawl into the dark, and if you already did, don't fall asleep. They nest inside your dreams, and when they wear your face, you don't wake up alone. There's a lost SpongeBob episode that keeps coming back, no matter what I do. I know how this sounds. Lost episode creepypastas are tired, I get it. Someone finds a cursed VHS tape, watches it, and then their life goes to hell. But I'm not trying to make something up for internet clout. I'm not trying to go viral. I'm telling you this because I don't know what else to do. The episode won't go away. It keeps coming back. I first found it last summer, buried in the back of a second-hand store in coastal New Hampshire. I was there on a nostalgia kick, looking for old tapes and DVDs. I grew up on early 2000s cartoons. Ed, Ed and Eddie, Courage, SpongeBob. I loved that stuff. Still do. It reminds me of when things were simpler, before the divorce, before Mum's breakdown, before everything got weird. The tape was in a bin labelled, 25 cents or free if you promise to take the creepy ones too. I almost didn't grab it. It was unlabeled, just a plain black VHS with the word SB scratched into the plastic with something sharp. Not written, scratched. The kind of scratch you get from someone pressing too hard for too long. The sticker had a crusty brown stain on one corner. I thought it might have been some old SpongeBob episode someone had taped off TV, so I brought it home with a few others and popped it in. It started normally enough. The Nickelodeon splash screen, the underwater bubbles, the music, then it cut to black for longer than usual. About 20 seconds in it started. No title card, no ukulele, just a shot of SpongeBob's house in complete silence. It sat there, no movement, no sound, not even the usual background music or ocean sounds, just a still shot for maybe a full minute. Then it cut to the living room. SpongeBob sat on the floor, legs stretched out in front of him. His eyes were wide, pupils tiny. The animation was off, jittery, like it had been drawn over too many times. His arms were too long. His skin had a greyish hue. He didn't blink, he just stared at the screen. Then, without warning, the image glitched. A loud static burst nearly blew out my speakers. The screen flickered and now SpongeBob was outside the Krusty Krab, but it looked destroyed. The windows were shattered, the sign was cracked in half. The colours were wrong, washed out like an old VHS recording left in the sun. The sound came back, faint whispering, layered under that same bubbling ocean noise the show usually used. But this time the whispers didn't stop. They kept going, louder and louder, until I could almost make out words. "You shouldn't watch this. You shouldn't watch this. You shouldn't watch this." Then it cut again. Squidward was in his house, staring into a mirror. The glass was fogged over, but his reflection didn't match his movements. He'd blink, and the reflection wouldn't. He'd tilt his head, and the reflection would smile. Then, fast, almost like a jump scare, the mirror cracked, and the reflection screamed, but the sound wasn't a scream. It was a distorted clip of SpongeBob's laugh, stretched and pitched until it sounded inhuman. The screen went black, then something new, something I've never seen in any SpongeBob episode. SpongeBob was in Sandy's dome, but it was full of water. Sandy floated lifelessly near the ceiling. Her helmet was cracked, her fur had darkened. SpongeBob stared up at her for a while before turning toward the screen again. His mouth started to open. The whispering returned. This time it was SpongeBob's voice. "I remember what you did. You watched, and you'll keep watching." That's when I turned it off. I ejected the tape, threw it into a box, and left it in my garage. I couldn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw those wide eyes staring back at me, heard those whispers under the ocean noise. I didn't touch the tape again, but it didn't matter. 3 days later, it was back in my VCR. I swear to God I hadn't moved it. My garage was locked. I live alone. But when I went to watch a different tape, that same black VHS was already inside, halfway through, like someone had been watching it. I threw it away. A week later it showed up in my mailbox. No postage, no return address, just sitting there like it had been delivered by hand. This time the tape had something written on it in red marker. "You saw me." I tried to burn it. I poured lighter fluid on it in my backyard and set it on fire. It melted, bubbled, and turned to sludge. I went to bed thinking it was finally over. The next morning, it was sitting on my kitchen table. No note, no explanation, pristine condition. I don't know how it keeps coming back. I've smashed it with a hammer, drowned it in bleach, cut it up with shears. One time I mailed it to a P.O. box I never use anymore, thinking maybe I was going crazy and doing it myself in my sleep. It came back the next day, sitting on my pillow. But it's not just the tape now. I started hearing the laugh. That warped, distorted laugh. It comes from the walls, from under the bed. I've moved apartments twice since then, but it doesn't matter. The tape follows me. And the worst part? It's changing. The episode is longer now. New scenes keep appearing, more characters. Last night it showed SpongeBob digging something in the sand behind the Krusty Krab. He was humming. The sand was red. Then the camera panned over and I saw what he was burying. It was a body, mine. Same shirt, same scar on my hand, same chipped tooth. He looked at the camera and smiled. "See you soon." I don't know what's happening to me. I haven't watched the tape in full since the first time, but it plays in my head anyway, frame by frame. Sometimes I dream of Bikini Bottom, but it's not a cartoon. It's real, tangible, wet, cold. I walk through it and the houses rot like they're made of meat. The sky is black, and SpongeBob watches me from his window. This isn't just some urban legend, it's not some ARG or cursed media project. I don't care if you believe me, I just want it to stop. But I don't think it ever will. Because there's one thing I haven't told you, one thing I only just remembered from when I was a kid. Back in 2004, Nickelodeon ran a contest. Visit the Real Bikini Bottom, they called it. I won, me and 4 other kids. They flew us out to some studio in California, said they were showing us something special, something they were still working on. We never went home, except me. I woke up in my bed like nothing had happened, but I remember now. I remember the cold metal room, the static, the smell of salt and blood, the cartoon characters drawn on the walls in crayon, the way the producers said we'd become part of the show. I don't think the tape is haunted. I think it's a doorway, and it's still open. I couldn't sleep because of the sounds in the walls. They were trying to warn me. 2 days ago, I woke up to the sound of something crawling inside the walls. The noise was bone-chilling. I won't lie, I was scared out of my mind. I pressed my ear against the wall and could only hear the same slow, dragging sound, like something slithering inch by inch through the dark. My heart was pounding harder and harder. I put in my earplugs and played some music at a low volume, hoping to drown it out and get some sleep. It didn't work. I couldn't sleep. Just the thought of that thing kept me awake. I moved into this cheap, small apartment a week ago. After the divorce, I couldn't afford much, so I settled for this place. It was surprisingly decent for how little it cost. But now I'm starting to realize why it was so cheap. Yesterday, I called the landlord to try to sort this out. The sound was driving me insane, and worse, it was making me genuinely afraid. Mr. Breger, there's something crawling inside the walls. I can't sleep. Could you please send someone to take care of it?
Oh, don't worry. It's just rats. Nothing to be scared of, he said. His voice was calm, but I wasn't fooled. He was too calm.
Even if they're rats, I'm not exactly thrilled. I don't like rats or anything like that, really. It's not a phobia, but just the thought of those filthy animals crawling around makes my skin crawl.
Don't worry, he repeated. They don't do any harm, and they're inside the walls. You won't even see them. It only lasts a day or two. The other tenants said the same thing, and then it stopped. You won't hear anything after that.
He was trying to reassure me, but I could already tell this was a dead end. There was no point in arguing. Right after the call, I promised myself, if this didn't stop in the next couple of days, there would be a serious problem. And if Mr. Breger didn't fix it, I would make sure he regretted it. But the more time passed, the more I was convinced that those weren't rats. The sounds had a rhythm, a pattern, almost like a conversation. I was terrified, on the edge of panic. But something kept me from running away. Curiosity. I had to know what was inside the walls. And I knew deep down, whatever it was, it couldn't be rats. During the day, I pressed my ear to the wall again, hoping to catch the sounds and understand what I was dealing with. But nothing. The silence was even worse. And when the sounds finally came back, they filled me with something worse than fear, dread. The more I listened, the more anxious I became. The noise made my whole body tense, like every nerve knew something was wrong. Then I realized it didn't sound like crawling anymore. It was something else, familiar somehow. Now that I was really paying attention, it sounded like words, whispered in some rough, guttural voice, in a language I didn't recognize. That's when I knew something was talking inside the walls. I decided to record the sounds with my phone. I listened to the recordings over and over again, paying close attention, but nothing. Just the same static and scratching. I connected my phone to my laptop and downloaded a free audio editor. I tried everything I could think of. I sped up the playback, nothing, slowed it down, still nothing. I used every enhancement tool I could find to clean up the noise, but again, nothing helped. I was just about to give up when one last idea crossed my mind. What if I reversed the audio? What came out of the speakers made my blood run cold.
A distorted voice over and over whispering, "Run, he will kill you."
My whole body froze. I couldn't breathe. Panic, fear, dread. Everything hit me at once. I wanted to run without looking back, get as far away as I could. So many strange things had happened in the past 48 hours, and this This pushed it over the edge, but I didn't run, I did something else. This morning, first thing, I went to a hardware store and bought a sledgehammer. When I got back to the apartment, I didn't hesitate. I needed to know what was behind that wall. I swung the hammer as hard as I could. Blow after blow, I kept going until the wall began to crumble. And then, from one of the holes I made, something came out. A human arm. I screamed, loud enough to wake the entire building. I couldn't move. I was frozen in place for 5 whole minutes, the longest 5 minutes of my life. My spine felt like ice, my face soaked in cold sweat. Slowly I stepped closer. It was unmistakably human, and unmistakably decomposing. The smell hit me. My stomach turned. I nearly threw up, but I shut my eyes and forced myself to breathe slowly. It was close, way too close. I dropped the sledgehammer, didn't even think. I bolted for the door. I wasn't taking clothes, wasn't packing a thing. I just needed to get out, now, as far from this place as possible, never come back. But when I opened the door to leave, he was standing there, Mr. Breger, right in front of me, hand raised, about to knock.
"Oh, I was just about to check in on the rat situation," he said, smiling warmly, too warmly.
"Ah, yeah, they've stopped. Everything's fine now," I stammered, trying to hide the terror in my voice. I kept the door half closed, trying to block his view inside so he wouldn't see the demolished wall. All I wanted was for him to leave so I could escape. But of course things only got worse from there. The sound from the walls started up again, loud, echoing through the apartment. But somehow, he didn't react at all. It was like he couldn't hear it.
"Let me take a look," he said kindly. "Maybe I can help. Other tenants before you have complained about noises too."
"There's no need, the sound stopped since yesterday. But thanks," I said, trying hard to act like everything was fine even though the noise in the walls was getting louder by the second. All I wanted was for him to leave, right then, right there.
"Well, I came all the way over. At least let me have a look," he said, suspicious now. "Come on, let me in."
Before I could stop him, Breger shoved the door open and stepped into the tiny apartment. When his eyes landed on the destroyed wall and the arm sticking out, he froze, just stood there, staring. I didn't say a word.
"So, you found them?" he muttered. His voice was low, almost sorrowful, like he didn't want to believe what he was seeing.
"What?" I asked, confused. I had no idea what he meant.
"You found the other tenants of this apartment," he said, turning to face me. "Every damn one of you complains about the noises in the walls, and I've never heard a thing. I even lived here for a week once. Dead silence. But you people, always hearing things."
That's when it hit me. Breger killed the previous tenants. He murdered them and hid their bodies inside the walls. You killed them!" The words barely came out. I was in shock. I couldn't believe what I was standing in front of.
"Yeah, and now I'll have to kill you too."
Before I could react, he lunged at me and wrapped his hands around my throat. We both crashed to the floor. Fists, kicks, elbows, choking. Anything we could throw, we did. The fight was pure chaos. 15 minutes of hell, though it felt like only 5. The adrenaline, the fear, it warped time itself. I'd never thrown a punch in my life, but today I fought like a man possessed, like my life depended on it, because it did. The fight ended when I managed to grab the sledgehammer. I swung it with everything I had. It smashed into his head. His skull exploded like a watermelon. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. I'd never killed anyone before. The feeling was horrible, sickening. The only thing that kept me from completely falling apart was knowing I'd killed a monster. A serial killer. That thought that I'd stopped him was the only comfort I had, and even that didn't feel like enough. Then the sound stopped, just like that. Silence. I realized then that those sounds were the voices of his victims. They were warning me, telling me to run, begging me to escape. I don't know how that's possible or why only I could hear them. I'm writing this while I wait for the police. I don't know what's going to happen to me, whether they'll arrest me or believe me. But one thing I do know, no matter what they say on the news, no matter what the headlines scream, you're the only ones who now know the truth about what really happened here. Teletubbies Creepypasta. I never really knew my sister Abby. She was always quiet, not shy, just distant. While other kids ran and shouted, Abby stayed still, watching everything with wide, dark eyes. She never spoke much, but there was one thing she loved: the Teletubbies. From the moment she woke up, Abby watched the show. She had every plush toy, memorized every episode, and even named our vacuum cleaner Noo, talking to it like it was a real friend. It was the only thing that ever made her happy. But when Abby turned 15, her obsession changed. She began filling notebooks with drawings of the Teletubby hills, but the colours were gone. The skies were always heavy and grey. The dome was cracked open like a broken egg. The sun wasn't a smiling baby anymore. It was a wide, silent mouth, screaming. When I asked her about the drawings, she just shook her head and whispered, "It's not what you think." Then, in the summer of 2003, Abby found something online. An old, blurry map showing the original filming location in Warwickshire. The land was abandoned, fenced off, and set to be destroyed, but the map showed a hidden gate near a farm where you could still get inside. She begged me to go with her. I refused. She said she had to go alone. She never came back. The police found only her shoes by the edge of a flooded mound, the exact spot where the dome had stood. No body, no other clues. They said she probably slipped and drowned, but I never believed that. 2 months later, I got a letter with no return address. Inside was a drawing, crayon on yellowed paper, like Abby's old art. It showed 4 figures standing in the grass, red, green, yellow, and purple, but their faces were empty black holes, bleeding shadows. Behind them stood a 5th figure, larger, all black, faceless. Where the sun should be was a single eye, scratched over and over until the paper tore. On the back, Abby wrote, "They were never actors, and it was never a show." I started searching for answers. Production crews whispered about power surges, lights exploding without cause, strange noises in tunnels beneath the dome. Rumours of a missing child actor swallowed underground. The BBC denied everything. Locals said animals avoided the hills. Sheep wandered in but never came out. One old farmer told me, "That land was cursed before the show. The BBC just gave it a face." Years later, I found the rusted gate and slipped inside. The air was thick and damp, smelling like mud and rot. The ground beneath my feet was soft, the grass wet with dew and something fouler. I wandered through the flooded ruins where the dome had stood. That's when I saw them. 4 figures standing perfectly still near the water's edge. But these weren't the colourful, happy Teletubbies of childhood. Their skin looked like cracked porcelain, heads oversized and grotesque. Their faces were smeared, as if someone had rubbed away the paint. Their eyes were endless black pits, empty and watching. They turned slowly toward me. I froze. One figure stepped forward, the red one. Its mouth opened unnaturally wide, revealing sharp, jagged teeth. 1,000 voices echoed in my mind. "Come play! Stay forever! Join us!" I wanted to run, but my feet were rooted. The figures circled me slowly. The yellow one reached out, its fingers cold as dead twigs, and touched my arm. A sharp chill spread through me. Time lost meaning. The hills seemed to close in around us, the sky darkened to a bruised purple. They never blinked, never spoke, just watched. Then the green one pointed to the shattered dome. I swallowed hard and moved toward it. The cracked entrance creaked as I pushed it open. Inside, the air was heavy and stale. A rotten smell, wet earth mixed with rust and decay, hit me immediately. The dome was a hollow shell. Flickering pale light seeped through broken windows, casting twisted shadows that danced on the cracked floor. The ground was slick, a slimy mix of mud, mould, and something darker. Pools of stagnant water reflected shards of broken glass and twisted metal. Shattered remnants of the set lay scattered, tattered costumes, broken plastic flowers, rusted machinery. A low hum filled the air. Warped nursery rhymes slowed to a crawl, echoing through the vast space. From somewhere beneath the floorboards, I could hear whispers, faint voices layered under the music. The walls, once bright and cheerful, were scarred and peeling. Stains mottled the surfaces, blotches of reddish-brown that looked frighteningly like dried blood. Then I heard it, a soft, eerie giggle, childlike but broken, warped, chilling. I spun around. A shadow flickered beneath a broken trapdoor. Something tall and dark retreated into the tunnels below. Suddenly the silence broke with a whisper in my mind. "You belong here now." I stumbled back outside. The gate slammed shut behind me. Now I write this from a small motel near Warwickshire. Outside, the grass doesn't move. No breeze, no rustle. At night I hear the singing, the laughter, the whispering, and sometimes when the wind is just right I swear I hear Abby's voice calling me back.